Hello, and welcome to our next video in our training modules. Today's video is going to focus on setting up student logins and configuring the student view in the Unique Learning Systems platform. So we're going to go ahead and get started the same way we always do, which is heading onto n2y.com. You're going to log in by selecting your role and putting in your credentials. This will then bring you to your welcome page. So in order to focus on the student logins, we head to the Students tab. You will want to select Menu in the top left corner. It's going to be under the My Account tab, and it's listed as Students. From here, when it loads, you'll see a display of all the students who are on my roster. The students will then have a grade level and subject areas that they are seated in. You can add students from this site. So whether that is adding an existing student, someone who already exists in our CMS subscription, you can create a new student for somebody who is brand new to either the district or extensions. Or if you are trying to learn the platform, I highly suggest creating a sample student. This is going to be the best way to play around on the platform without risking any student's data or harming any of the data that has been collected. So for today, we're going to work off of our sample student who is here. To go ahead and get started, I'm just going to click on the student. This is then going to bring me to a settings page. I can see various things such as assignments, performances, assessment results, and to get started on the student login, I'm going to head and go right to settings. I'm going to head down to login settings. And from here, I'll see three different options. I have a username and a text password, a simplified password with a classroom code, or a QR badge. Underneath each of them, you will see in blue the words instructions. By clicking on that, it'll populate a video that can work you through how to create the login if you forget. So the first one that we're going to work off of today, and I will show you all three, but the first one for today is going to be the simplified password with a classroom code. So that box is selected. You can change the password at any point. So if you forget the password and you're unsure what it is, a student forgets their password, they don't know, you can go ahead and change the password right here. It'll never display the password, so it's important to always change that password. I will change this student's password for today. Passwords are going to be 5 characteristics with 1 letter and 1 number. I would suggest not creating something that is crazy because the student might not remember it. It's okay if it's weak. Again, this is the student's login. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. So from this point, I'm going to do a quick exit out. Up in the top right corner here, you'll see a link and it has classroom code and some numbers. You can go ahead and click on that. This is a classroom code that's used for the student login using the simplified password. They can utilize this code while going on to student.n2y.com. A word of caution, once you have students, multiple students who are using this classroom code, all of the students' names and pictures will appear on a generalized login page. So if you want to protect privacy of students who are in the classroom or their names, I would suggest using one of the other methods that Unique offers. So what you can go ahead and do here is copy your classroom code. You could also print the code, and this can get sent home with the student, and that way they are able to access this while at home. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log out and show you what it looks like on the student view. So a student is going to log in the same way that we do. They're going to sign in by selecting their role. If I clear the classroom code, I'm going to enter it. So what I copied earlier, and then I'm going to hit enter. Now, here's what I was talking about a couple minutes ago. This is where all the students on your roster are going to populate. So if you want to protect privacy, again, this is not something you want to have up there. No passwords will be displayed, but again, student names and or pictures could be displayed. Another helpful way that you might be able to get the student to log in without much assistance from you is if you come up to the top of the URL and this little padlock here, I can actually drag this onto my desktop. This will then populate an icon and this can bring me right to the student's login page. So if I'm the student and I want to log in, I'm going to select my picture, and then I'm going to type in my password. I'm going to hit sign in. And it's going to bring up the different activities that have been assigned to me that I can go ahead and work off of. Student can log out through there. And I'm going to go ahead and let myself back in. And again, by dragging that onto the desktop as seen here, you can directly have the student log on without doing all of the extra clicking. So by going back to the My Students tab, I'm going to show you guys some of the other options that are available for student logins. So again, clicking on the student will bring me to this page by heading over to settings, login. The next option I'll show you here is a username and a text password. The first thing that you're going to want to do is ensure that that student's username is available. So we'll go ahead and find a login, see if it's available. That one is available. Okay, great. Again, you can change their password. So again, making this something simple that they can remember and that is important to the student. I want to save everything that I'm doing. Great. So if I go ahead and I exit out of that, this student can then log in using that. So if I log myself out, student logs in here, they can type in their username and their password to bring them to their assignments. And the password, again, just to touch on, is the same 5 characteristics, 1 letter, 1 number. You can, again, do the same thing kind of with the padlock if you want to create a shortcut for that student. So again, it brings you to the same exact page. The last option that we have for signing students in is going to be using a QR badge. This is probably my favorite one to use with our students, and it creates the most independent skills for them because we're not having to go over there and type passwords in and usernames in and remember everything. So again, we head to the My Account tab, head on over to Students. Selecting our student here, settings, and we'll head down to login. So if we hit QR badge, what we're going to do here is to create a new QR badge, which is good for 1 year. Creating the badge. So once you create it, it'll pop up with this page right here. This is what's cool about this. You can go ahead and print that So the student is then able to take that home and they can log in on their tablet or their phone just by scanning the code, and it'll automatically populate for them. Loved in the classroom when I would print this and display it in the classroom, it was easy access for TAs or substitutes to go on and get the students using their account without having to write down 1,000,001 usernames and passwords. So great tool. So if you print those, again, it's a cool tool to have. Make sure to save those. And again, when you sign in under the student, what they can do is scan that QR code. It'll automatically bring up your camera and so that you can scan that code. So it's a great way to gain some independence and to not have to remember 1,000 usernames. So those are our 3 types of student logins that you can choose from. And again, you want to pick the one that makes the most sense for your student. And those are going to be very different because all of our students are very different. So the next thing I want to work through on here is how to configure that student view and different ways that we can make custom settings for the student. So I'm going to go ahead and select my sample student again. If I hit on settings here, underneath login is going to be accessibility settings. So this is going to pull up different areas. So you want to pull down on each one here. So for reading here, we can enable that text to speech. We can change the reading speed. We can use symbols to support. And you can actually change the highlight color. So from some of our students with some VI differences, if they can't see a certain color, this is where you can come in and change that color for them. Make sure to save everything. Okay. Under view, this is going to give you a list of things here as well. Pan lock. This is going to be if you guys are using the interactive board, you can actually lock it. So our friends who love to touch and move stuff around no longer have the ability to do that. It's going to automatically show the symbols. And then there's different types of zoom levels. Again, you can customize it however you want. Fit to width is going to show as long as the page is. And then the fit to height is going to show for how tall it is. You can change different lesson list styles, so to only have text or to support with those symbols. Under interactivity, this is where you can change some of the prompts. So if you want to highlight the right or wrong answer, there's that audio. So our friends that love to keep touching the wrong answer because they enjoy that sound, you can actually turn that off underneath this button here. It can offer visual prompts, and you can also change your wait time here. So, you know, for our friends that do take an extra long time, you can go ahead and do that as well. And then for keyboard shortcuts here, it's just going to show you different ways that the arrows will move and what they will do. So the last option underneath the settings is going to be our solution settings. And this is where you're going to see the different subscriptions that are in our ULS platform. So the first one is the ULS, or the Unique Learning System. Here is where you want to make sure everything lines up. So you want to make sure that your student's grade level is appropriate. You have your differentiated level of support here. This is going to be what was determined based on that learning profile that was completed. And if you are unsure of what I'm talking about here, you might want to go back to the previous videos so that you know exactly how to complete those learner profiles. And then here's going to be your elementary or your grade band that was selected. And this was upon getting your license. So making sure that that's correct and lines up with everything. Sometimes it won't line up if you are an if you have an elementary grade band, but you have a 4th grade student, you might get this error message here. There are other videos in here that will show you exactly how to work around that. Reading level for priority lessons. This is extremely important and has to be done in order for your student to have student view. So by showing priorities here, it'll bring up our reading level. You'll see all of the different levels here, and you're going to want to select the one that is most appropriate for our student. So this student here must have a reading level of a B, but if he starts to increase, I can then come up to C and bring C to the top. Here is where I can see the different levels. So we have regular, higher, and advanced. For our unique purposes, it's always under regular. Level books. This is a great document to print out and have handy. They took it upon themselves to kind of look at the reading level and what grade it corresponds to. So I know a lot of the times in meetings, we might say that the student is reading at a level C book, and the parents ask, well, what grade level would you consider that? This is where you can come back and give that guide to them. And it also just gives a description about what each level is and the supports that the student needs in order to be successful. So I'm going to make sure to always save your priorities here. The next thing is the unit lesson overrides. So here is all the lessons that are in our unique or our monthly lesson. It automatically defaults to the level of what was selected during our profiles. You can actually come in here and override that if you need to. So if you think, oh, you want to try the student on a level 2 to see how they're doing, you can go ahead and override that, and level 2 will start populating. Now, if you find yourself coming in here and changing quite a bit of these to different levels, that is a good time to go back and redo or edit the student's profile. And then if it lines up appropriately and the student truly is a level 2, you won't have to spend all that extra time coming in here and changing these default settings. And the last option underneath the unique learning system is going to be the course level overrides. So again, these are just derived from our profile here, and it has all the various categories. And these are going to be our courses here. So make sure to save anything. The next under solution settings is going to be your positivity. This is just going to be your schedule type. So are you using a time-based one, or are they more on demand, meaning that they are independently kind of getting throughout that schedule? And this again is our behavior component. I wouldn't necessarily worry too much about positivity if you are brand new to navigating unique learning system. Make sure that you are getting high priority stuff done, such as profiles, logins, developing your schedule and whatnot before you start learning some of these more integral parts. But know that it does exist and it's yours to use. We can also check our news to you here. Here is where we can automatically override and populate what level we want to give our students. So we have the different options, and if you're familiar with using the news to you, then you know what these are. But just to give you an idea, the simplified is going to be our least advanced, and it's going to have the most amount of symbols. Regular is going to move up in information, so give us a little bit more information and still provide those symbols. Higher level is going to be more advanced, and we're getting 1 symbol per page. And our advanced is obviously the most amount of information per topic, and we're getting real life pictures. So again, you know your students and where they're at, so select what you believe is most appropriate for them. You can automatically auto-assign them the current issue, and remember, those are released every week. And it tells you that right here. You can include the communication board automatically onto their student view and those Joey's Locker games. There is also the breaking news, and they probably populate 3 to 5 new articles per week with the breaking news. And it's just a great way for our students to be able to understand some of the natural disasters that are occurring or things that are going on in the movies or the sports world. Again, you can auto assign these and select their level. You can do as many as you want. So the past 3 days, I just want to work on. I would be cautious though with this. Some of our students are very oversensitive to things, and we don't want to make them upset or cause any kind of grief. So if you know a student is struggling with some of those things, then I would suggest really looking at those articles before assigning them. And the last option of the news to you is going to be that weather that automatically shows up in their student view. And the students have a lot of fun with this. They get to dress the little weatherman. So it's a great option. We also have the symbol sticks here. And again, this just shows different boards and titles that we might have created that are now in the student view. And the last thing is our L3 skills here. So this is the gaming portion of the unique learning system, and it's a great way to reinforce those skills that you're teaching in the classroom every day in a fun and creative way. This box here is for any students who might use a Switch or have other different features to answering and playing those games. So making sure that you are saving all of that. So the last thing that we want to do over here is once we select the student and he becomes blue, we're going to configure student login. And again, this is just going to show us the different things that we have selected here and making sure that that student has a way of logging in. This is telling us that the student's password is already set, so we are good to go. We can also click the little box or the gear, and it'll automatically bring you to the settings page. And by clicking on the eye, it'll show you what the student will see when he or she is logged in. So by doing this, you can then see the different areas that the student is seated in and what subjects are assigned. So if the student goes home and they're working on News to You, their newspaper article is the coronation of King Charles. There's their communication board, and they also have some breaking news story on Aaron Rodgers and the weather. They could click on Joey's Locker and play the games. Or if they're in the unique learning system and have assignments to do there, this is where that you can see, okay, they have some work on place value. They can work on shape picture. And if the student has any games assigned to them, this is where the student will play their games. The student currently does not. So you can close that student preview. And that is going to be the end of this video. Again, this video was focusing on how to set up the student logins using the 3 different options that we have, which were the username and text password, simplified password with the classroom code, or the QR badge. You can change all the accessibility settings. And the last thing is just to make sure that a reading level has been set for that student so that you can view their student login.